Can't hear me. Hey, Blake. Hey, Evan. How you doing? How's everyone doing this morning? I was watching the chat over there on the side. We're getting some stuff ready right here. Got the music going. Let's see. What do people want to cover? Had everything going right here. I think we're going to move an assignment. What are we talking about? Let's see here. Stat 201 UTK. We got Mubot in the chat. We're going to throw out some crazy points today during class. But let's throw out 1,000 points right now. Here we go. Getting the chat going. Love the new intro. Thank you. I was like, we need to play some Rocky Top intro right there. Do the new intro for this week. Thank you so much. And I regret it. What'd you say? I honestly haven't looked at stats since Wednesday. That's aw. And you regret it. You haven't looked at stats since Wednesday and you regret it. I think Blake's concurring right there. The party. You guys are cracking me up in the chat. You guys are too awesome. Let's throw out 1,000 points. I had to get that coffee this morning. Busy morning, getting everything going. We got a new survey. I'll be talking about that during class. I'll have a survey that I'm going to send out during class that I hope people do. Get a lot of stuff going. I got to shave. Looking all scruffy over here. But what do people want to cover? What do people want to cover? Let me go look at my Pearson, look at the due dates. People are saying there's 2 things due tonight. Is there 2 things? Let's not have a double due date. Why would we do that? We're getting my Pearson up and going as we talk right now. I haven't been able to... Please no, please no. Sorry. You're scaring me right there with that. You're scaring me. Let's see here. Instructor tools. We can do some work. What work should we do? What work should we do? Let's see. It says it is due on... Wait. Here we go. Chapter 7. Wait, it's due then? Oh, it's not due till the 20th. We got tons of time. No, it's not due till the 20th. I thought it wasn't. I was like, I thought I looked. Had this flashback appeal saying it's due on Monday, and I was like, wait, it's not. It's not due for a while. Are you saying that the Canva content... Oh, because we haven't... Oh, well, it's basically we've covered everything in the Canvas content. Do you want to do the Canvas content right now? Oh, that's what you're talking about. Do you want to do the Canvas content right now? Canvas content's not so bad. Canvas content's not so bad. Like, it's not that bad, believe me. The Canvas content, that's what people were mentioning. I was like, wait, what? Canvas content's due tonight. The Canvas content's probably the easy one. Go. Should we do the Canvas content, Angel? Good to see you. Oh, believe me, watch this. It's when it says chapter 8, we've pretty much done chapter 8. Here, watch. I'll pull up chapter 8. We'll do a chapter 8 preview. It's pretty much just chapter 7, and chapter 8 is like an extension of chapter 7. Like, chapter 8 is like, I pretty much cover all of chapter 7, or chapter 8 with chapter 7. Like, it's so short, in my opinion. Let's do a chapter 8 preview. We'll call it that. You ready? Let's call this chapter 8 preview, and then we'll do Canvas content right after. Stat 201, chapter... Let's do it. Here we go, main screen. Let's do it. Okay, so with chapter 8, there's not that much to cover in it. We'll head over to this screen. It's called Regression Wisdom. So it's almost an addendum to chapter 7. So the first thing you need to know is, how do we examine residuals? How can you examine all the residuals to see if there's a problem with the plot thickening? Have this in your notes. What is one way if you have a regression line? So there's your regression line, and maybe you've got a problem of plot thickening. What is one thing you could do to examine all the residuals to see if there's a problem with plot thickening? Nice job, Evan, right there. Like I said, it's not that bad, right? And we'll cover it here in a second. How can you examine all the residuals to see issues with there being things like the plot thickening? That's the regression plot. How could you examine all the residuals with like a plot? How could you examine all the residuals? To examine all the residuals, you can compare them, but you can make a residual plot. A residual plot is a plot of all the residuals. So this is a residual plot where we take the line and we make it 0. And you don't want to see anything in the residuals. So this right here, you see how it's that? You see a little bit of a curve pattern. You also see the plot getting thinner across here. It's just the same thing over here, but it's easier to see in the residual plot. So the residual plot, we go over to chapter 7. Yeah, let's do that here next. You got it. And you can make a histogram of the residuals. They should look normal. It's another good thing to do, but mostly we're looking to see right here, QQ straight enough, no outliers, plot doesn't thicken. And the last condition, we look at a residual plot often for the plot doesn't thicken. We don't want to see anything in the residuals. Here's how to plot the residuals. There they go. And if you notice right here, the plot is getting thicker over here. We talked a lot about that last class. That's where the problem, it's just, you don't want to see a change anywhere. So it's not that it's getting thicker or thinner. It's like there's a change in strength, which is your X and Y variable, just choosing X and Y, choosing X and Y. And then extrapolation is when we go outside the X axis. So when you're extrapolating a model, you could see a model right here. The more cheeseburgers you eat, the better you do on the test. So you have your friends who ate like 0 cheeseburgers. You have your friends who ate 0.5 cheeseburgers. You have your friends who ate 1 cheeseburger. And you saw a change in grade from 70 to 80 between the people who ate 0 cheeseburgers to 1 cheeseburger. And it looks something like this for the model. And you've only got like 5 points or 4 points. So what you say is, you know what I need to do the night before the test? I need to eat a bunch of cheeseburgers. Now, this model is also based on such limited data, but at the point that you leave your x-axis, if you leave your x-axis, you are extrapolating your model because there's no data beyond here. So this is the point at which extrapolation of the model occurs. It also occurs below there. So outside of this right here, you are extrapolating your model. Black Cherry was at Blake check. I thought I said black. Oh my gosh. I think like some Black Cherry Coca-Cola or something like that. You guys are killer in the chat. But right here, you are extrapolating your model outside of the X bounds of your model. New name for Blake, Black Cherry. Oh my gosh. I don't know. My contacts are Black Cherry Coca-Cola. We need that right there. That's what we need. So when you're outside the X bounds of your model, you're extrapolating. So if someone built a model to that point and went forward, they'd be extrapolating. Extrapolation is usually what we do in forecasting. We call it forecasting, not extrapolating. What condition has failed here? QQ straight enough, no outliers, plot doesn't thicken. Use a residual plot to check that. So that's the problem right there. The plot is thickening. Interpret slope, interpret intercept, interpret R squared. Know how to interpret every one of those values. We did that a lot in the last few classes. Outliers and their impact. What can outliers do to regression? Correlation. Taylor, good to see you. We're going to do another 2-1 question here next. Drop any questions in the chat. What can outliers do to regression? So what can they do to the slope? Anything. Yeah. They can do anything. That's why we say no outliers. It's basically a continuation of correlation. So outliers right here, if you look at this right here, this would take the line and dramatically move the line up. So outliers can do anything to a regression line. They can change the slope. They can change the intercept. They can change the R squared. So that's why we don't like outliers, is because they can do anything. So outliers can change, make a slope positive, make a slope negative, anything. It's just like correlation. Lurking variables. The idea of a lurking variable is a variable outside the model. So you'll hear me give, and I think this is the last thing to say. There's a classic example of ice cream and shark attacks. So we have ice cream and we have shark attacks. So what would be the hidden variable that might be responsible for ice cream and shark attacks? Like we see that when ice cream sales go up, shark attacks go up. When we see when shark attacks go up, ice cream sales go up. So what might be the, what we say, lurking variable Z, which is hidden right here, heat, summer, things like that, right? So you could say summer. So it looks like there's a connection between the, and that's the Z variable, we often call it, a variable outside the XY relationship. So there is a relationship between ice cream and shark attacks between X and Y, but it looks like there's a relationship. Sharks like warm water, exactly. And always get some interesting comments like, no, sharks like when you rub ice cream on yourself or something. I don't know, it's weird. But this right here is what we call a lurking variable. So there's a lot of lurking variables, like, think about this. Piercings and height are related. So what might be the relationship? Like you see generally people with more piercings are shorter. So piercings and height, what might be the lurking relationship right here? Because you can actually make models that show that, like, oh, when people have more piercings, they're shorter. So generally speaking, it doesn't mean it is. It's just generally speaking, we see this relationship because there's a lot of variation in the data. Yeah, we're just speedrunning this chapter right now. So what would be a lurking variable there? Like a variable outside. Maybe. See, that is, I mean, that's a theory, right? Age would probably be part of it. Age, well, no, but it's shorter. It's shorter. Generally, the more piercings you have, the shorter you are. So they have a negative relationship. More piercings generally implies that somebody's shorter. Generally, it doesn't mean for certain. It's just on average, people with more piercings are shorter. On average, people with more piercings are shorter. On average. But then if you control for the lurking variable, self-confidence, maybe. A lot of times, like, gender right here is going to be associated. Now, it doesn't mean, like, I could go out and get 50 piercings, and I identify as male, so I could go out and get 50 piercings, and I'm 6'3". So it doesn't mean that these have to have a relationship. It doesn't mean you have to follow the negative relationship. But generally speaking, people with more piercings are generally shorter. A lot of people identify as female who have more piercings. It doesn't, once again, I don't want people to think I'm saying it's all individuals. It's a trend in the data, and trend means on average. So you generally see this. But if you control for the lurking variable of gender, it kind of goes away. We actually have data on that. Here, I'll show you real quick. Wait, let me see how. And then we're about to do some, after we do this right here, we're going to jump over and do one of the questions. But I think that's every topic in the chapter. Lurking variables is the end of it. And we do some examples there. And we talked about statistical significance last class. It's the significance of the slope. So yeah, we covered, we'll probably do that in about 40 minutes today. So do you see why it's like, there's really not that much to that. Like, knowing the concept of what a lurking variable is going to be important. Knowing what extrapolation is more like definitions. Like, memorize extrapolation, memorize lurking variables, know the significance of models, the significance of a slope, know to look at a residual plot. Those things right there are the main themes of that chapter. If you know all of that, you're kind of good. You're kind of good to go. So this is just one last little bit on lurking variables right here. I'm making a model. I don't currently have it loaded. Library regression class and data survey 10. This is survey data from Stat 1 students. Let me attach it, and that'll make it so I can autocomplete on the variables. And we're doing a my Pearson program after this, num body piercings, and we want to predict somebody's height. And check it out. Visualize the model right here, and there you go. There is a strong negative relationship between, there's a little bit of non-linearity. Do you see how it kind of bends up here at the end? So there is some non-linearity to this model because we see a bend. We could look at the residuals of this. So let me do check regression, and that's going to show us the residual plot over here. There's the residual plot. You see the bend over here, and this one does it a little bit differently. Who would have thought that there's a negative relationship? I know, right? Pretty interesting. And actually, the R-squared might be pretty decent on this. The R-squared says that this variable explains 33.76% of the variation. So knowing somebody's body piercings explains 33% of the variation in their height, about a third of the variation. There's the model. We predict someone with no body piercings would have a height of about 5'10", and for each additional body piercing, we would expect to decrease the prediction of their height by negative 1.25. Once again, there is a negative relationship. But a thing we don't get into in this class is if you control for gender, which makes it indicator regression, meant to do a plus right here. We do not go over indicator regression, but we could show it right here visually. Here's indicator regression. Now, interesting, and so you see the difference between males and females right here, a rather large gap. There is still slightly a negative relationship, but it is less statistically significant. So here's the statistical significance of num body piercings, which still has somehow amazingly statistical significance. But gender is doing more of the kind of work in this model to explain the variables. We could also add in an interaction, which is going to make the lines cross, or make them not the same slope, excuse me. They will cross eventually. Now they're no longer parallel. And the interaction was not statistically significant, and the variable num body piercings is less significant. Yeah, and we're going to do some homework questions here. Yeah, of course. We got, I think Taylor put one. But this right here is how we would build these models. And how do we know? This is my last question right here. When do we know a model is statistically significant? So you should understand this one right here. When do we know a regression model is statistically significant? Good question, Evan, right there. When do we know a regression model is statistically significant? By the significance of the what in the model. When do we know a regression model is statistically significant? Last question right here, which is the last little bits of the notes. When do we know a regression model is statistically significant? When would we know that? When the what is below what for the what? Well, not R. So I'm glad I asked this right here. We got to throw 1,000 ways. Not R. I'm glad I asked that. 0.05 is correct, and not R, because that's correlation. That'd be low correlation. R squared is percent of variation explained, so we want a high R squared, because that's the amount of variation we explain. So when this is a really good question then, when the what right here is, he'll look at the output on the screen. We gotta get some right answers though. What is that right there? That is the p-value, which we narrowed it down to a p-value, correct. So that is the p-value for the what? The p-value for the what is below 0.05. The p-value for the what? The x variable, which is going to be not the intercept, but that's the p-value of the slope. Nice job, Taylor, hitting 300 right there. So that is the p-value for the slope. And take a look right here. That's the p-value for the slope of this model right here. So not the intercept. Good guess. Keith right there. We got to 1,000 points. Good guess. Not the intercept, but the slope. The slope is the XY relationship. So we want to see the p-value for the slope is less than 0.05, which means it's statistically significant. Here's two separate models really briefly. Then we're jumping over to my Pearson. But here is a model where the intercept is equal to 0. So this is intercept equal to 0. And this is slope equal to 0. Which of these models, A or B, look like they have an XY relationship? So this is intercept is 0. And this is slope is 0. Which of these models, it looks like A, right? So when you say the slope is statistically significant, you're saying the slope is not equal to 0. So this model right here has an XY relationship. The intercept is 0. I hate to say it, no one really cares about the intercept. As Rock once said, it doesn't matter. The intercept really doesn't matter to us. We care about the XY relationship. So we look right here at the XY relationship to see if it is not equal to 0. This p-value right here doesn't matter so much. It's this one right here, which is the p-value of the slope. And that is how we tell if a model is statistically significant. Taylor, we're going to do your question next. Thank you so much, Taylor, asking a My Pearson question. Let's hop over to the main screen and do the My Pearson. Okay, Taylor asked our first My Pearson question. I think Evan dropped a second one. So Evan's got that one. I'm going to grab that here, drop it over here. Taylor's got the first one. Oh, no, Angel asked. Taylor, did you ask one too? Angel asked one. Disk drives have been getting large. They have been getting large with terabytes. Disk drives have been getting larger. I thought Taylor asked one too. Might have just been Angel. So Angel, we're going to do your question right here. Chapter 7. Stat 201, Chapter 7, disk drives have been getting larger. And then we got Evan, your question next. No, Angel. No, Angel, great work. Thank you so much for asking. No, sorry I didn't acknowledge it. Or I said, oh, we'll get to that or something. I'm sorry about that. Angel, 1,000 points. Put the cry face in the cry happy face in the emojis. I like that. I figured we'd do a little quick preview right there. Thank you so much, Angel. My question is just messed up. It'll ask the true-false version, but then which graphics? We'll do it here next. True-false version with graphics, and it's the quiz probably, right? Let's go find that hard drive question here. This music's so calming to me. Oh my gosh, I opened up a billion Word documents. I need this. Oh, stop Microsoft Word. Stop it. Okay. Got just a moment. Disk drives have been getting larger. There's not that many questions on this. Oh, okay, good. I found it. Luckily, let's do this. Here we go. Okay, we are at the 2133 mark. With disk drives getting larger. Oh, I use Twitter a little bit. I have a Stats1 Twitter I rarely use. I used it a little this weekend to send out some positivity. But Stats1 UTK Twitter. And then there's someone impersonating me on Twitter. Haha, that's fun. I don't know. I'm trying to get them reported, but they're using my name and claiming to be a doctor, and yeah. No Insta, but Julio Bourbon uses Insta, so shout out to Julio. He's one of my former students. And he's a baseball player or former baseball player, current coach for I think the Twins. Disk drives have been getting larger. The capacity is now often given in terabytes. Very true. Where 1 terabyte equals 1,000 gigabytes. True. Or about 1 trillion bytes. Okay, we don't really talk that way with computer storage. A survey of prices for external disk drives found that data shown to the right find and interpret the R-squared value. Okay, so they're showing the increase in price, and this is kind of older data. A 2 terabyte drive, unless you're looking solid state, is not going to run you about 207 now. But these are random drives, really weird prices that they're seeing. A 0.80 gigabyte 80 gigabyte drive. I'm sure, I guess, maybe, but that's weird. It's what's interesting about this data too is there'd probably be a non-linear relationship. The first question is asking for the slope. The slope. Oh, is it a different one? You have a different one here. We'll do this one, and then we'll do the next one. You got it, Angel. So this one right here wants the R squared. So what you probably need to do if it's asking for these values right here is you want to go into jump. Now, I highly suggest using jump for this. So I'm going to open up jump in the background right here. So do you have jump installed? This might help you solve your problem. We're going to find yours next right here. We'll do version 1 and version 2 of this. Do you have jump installed on your computer? If you have jump installed on your computer, have jump opened up. Because when I get data right here, I'm going to do the following. I'm going to go to File, New, Data Table. Awesome, Angel. File, New, Data Table. With File, New, Data Table, go right here and go to Copy to Clipboard. Copy to Clipboard, hit Control C, and then go over here to Jump and make sure you're in File, New, Data Table. Oh my gosh. File, New, Data Table. File, New, Data Table. This is just a brand new blank data table. Once you're inside of here, go to Edit, Paste with Column Names. Edit, Paste with Column Names. So you'll edit, paste with column names. Make sure if you hit Control V, it's not going to work. We need to make sure those column names are up at the top, and these are blue. So they have to be blue. If they're not blue, start over again, File, New Data Table, because if you run into this error right here, you didn't paste with column names. Just to show you the difference, this one right here was done improperly. You didn't paste with column names. Start over, File, New Data Table, edit, paste with column names. Once again, I'll show that process one more time. File, New Data Table, File, New Data Table, and then go to Edit, Paste with Column Names. So once you have this, you should see the blue icons, and you should be good to go. That means it's quantitative. Can you show it? Does that make sense, Evan, right there? Did you catch it that time? Edit, and then paste with column names at the top. Edit, paste with column names right there. Paste with column names. Edit, paste with column names. So that is how you get the data into Jump right here. Didn't work. We might need to take a look at something. So you should go to File, New Data Table. Now don't click inside of it anywhere. Sometimes people, I think part of the issue, sometimes people go right here and then they paste with column names there. I don't know if that'll cause an issue. Now it won't let me paste. So when you open a new data table, don't click inside of it. A lot of people start to click. Just paste with column names to start. You can try this, Command N, Command Shift V. Command N, Command Shift V. And then you have to make sure you have the data copied also. So make sure the data is currently in your copy. If you have problems, let me know, but you want to make sure you've copied the data first. So step 1, copy the data here, Control C or Control V. Now that you've copied the data, go to a workbook, go to File, New, Data Table. Did not work. Yeah, Command Shift V is paste with column names, and then Edit. And then you should have paste with column names. Control C on a PC, it's Control Shift V. Reach out to me, let me know. It should paste this in. What you can also do is you could also write them in manually. Like if you can't get this to work, manually write them in, just copy them down. Once you have it in here, you want to go to Analyze, Fit Y by X. That's Analyze, Fit Y by X. Analyze, Fit Y by X. Now we want to predict the price of a hard drive. The price of a hard drive by its storage. So price is going to be the Y variable and storage is going to be the X. Analyze, fit Y by X. Analyze, fit Y by X, because it's a bivariate relationship, and we are going to get the scatter plot right there. So we have predict the price by the capacity. Boop. And so now we're over here. Thank you, Blake, dropping in the chat. Blake, let's throw you some points. And now, oh my gosh, look at that. What is that? What do those points look like to you? If you look at those points, that is about, the R squared here is going to be like crazy. Wow. The R squared is going to be like 0.98, I think, or something. Now go to fit line under the red arrow. So under the red arrow, go to fit line. Like it looks just like a line, right? So the line's going to do really well. 0.99. So 0.987, good guess, Blake. Evan right there. Yeah, that means the line explains, well, at least right here, 99.1% of the variation. Because the line basically explains everything. Yeah, super close. Because the line perfectly explains all out. More for me, I will have to reach. What's happening, Angel? Why is it? What is going wrong with the data? What is the R squared? We need to times this by 100 right here. 99.11. Interpret the value of R squared to 2 decimals. 99.11 variation in the value of Y. In the variability of my price. The R squared value of 99.11 indicates the percent of the variation in the price of the disk drives that can be accounted for, explained by a linear model on the capacity of the drives. I think that's got it. Yes. I can't paste with columns. Okay, wait. Let's try this again, Angel. Here, try it again with me. Here, let's go over to your data. I'm going to try to find the other disk drive one. So that is disk drive version 1. 2 people said they can't paste with columns. So I want to find the other disk drive version. You ready? We're going to find that other disk drive version. Then we're going to find Evan's question. But that's just interpreting an R squared right there. Blank percent of the variation in Y is explained by the variation in X. Blank percent of the variation in Y is explained by the variation in X. So I highly suggest trying to write that out because that's where you'll get the real practice by writing out blank percent of the variation in Y is explained by the variation in X. Like 99.11% of the variation in price is explained by the variation in capacity. There's the R squared one again. Let me find. We're going to find the other version right here. And let me know. Follow these steps. And let's see if we can get it correct. I feel like there might be something different about this data or something. Is it a different version of it? Where is it? Is it on the homework? Is it a homework one? I didn't see it on the, is it a homework or a quiz one, Angel? It's on the homework? Okay, that's why I'm not seeing it. All right, here we go. Here we go. So here's the homework version of it. Nice. Thank you, Blake, right there. And so your question's on the homework too. Nice. So let's do the quiz. And here's the homework version of it. Shocked it's that different. I am Blake too. Sorry, Evan. Oh my god. My eyes are going crazy today. I've had 2 eye surgeries, and today is one of those days where it's quite apparent. Can't see the screen. Oh no. Let's go with it. Let's check it out. Okay. So here we are. Right here. Got a clear right button. Okay, so with this right here, new TA. We are gonna click right here. And now click right here and click copy to clipboard. Who's done this step? Do you have this step right here? Do you have this step? It might copy that extra stuff. We'll see here in a moment. But it is giving a bunch of summary statistics. Eek. This is the weirdest looking one I've seen. Like, why is it doing that right there? So you could find this out by working with the summary statistics and solving the equations, but that's the mean of the X variable. So they're saying X is capacity, Y is price. The standard deviation of the Y variable is 1400, 20.77. The standard deviation of the X, which is the variation. And then they give you the R, which is the correlation. So they're highly correlated. So very similar. So make sure you have copy to clipboard right here. Now it might okay, we're good. And then hit copy to clipboard. So hit Control C or Control V or Control C right here, Control C or Command C. So we should be good on this. It should be copied. Now that we have it copied, we're going to go over here to a jump worksheet and we're going to go to File, New, Data Table. File, New, Data Table, and use tab right there. Do we put in, I use tab. The first one works perfect, should work properly. Tab delimited, should work. We'll find out. Because maybe I'll have the same problem. And so hit Data Table and then go to Edit, Paste with Column Names, and there we go. So how's this look? And that should be the new data. It is the new data. It is the new data. 32 terabytes. Oh my gosh. So it worked. Woo! Nice job. I like both saying it worked at the same time. Okay, so now that it worked, which is kind of a key part to this chapter, is just getting the data in Jump. That's why I wanted to focus so much on this. Now that it worked, we need to, with the new data, I need to make sure I'm using my current data. Nope, nope, close. With the new data, we're going to go to Analyze, Fit Y by X. Analyze, I just didn't click Control C. Yeah, you got to make sure you've copied it. Analyze, Fit Y by X, and great job, Evan, right there. Analyze, Fit Y by X, and you're going to put the price right there in the Y and the X. Does that make sense? Analyze, Fit Y by X. So at the top on a Mac, you have to hover over the top bar or the top of the screen. So at the Mac, you have to go to the very top of the screen. On a PC, that little bar appears. But on the Mac, you have to make it appear by going to the top and clicking on it there. So analyze, fit Y by X, and then put price as the Y variable of interest. And the X variable, the explanatory variable, is capacity. So let me ask you a quick question. Ooh, a little bit of non-linearity right there. What if someone wanted to predict a 50 terabyte hard drive? If someone wanted, just quick question, what would they be doing if they wanted to predict the price of a 50 terabyte hard drive? What would they be doing if they wanted to predict the price? Yeah, there's some non-linearity on this model. I don't know if they're going to go that direction. Predicting a 50 terabyte hard drive would be a what of this model. Predicting a 50 terabyte hard drive would be a what of this model. Well, not a residual plot. So think of this. Is there any data beyond 32 or wherever that point is? We can look at it right here. Is there any data beyond 32? Is there any X data? Not quite an outlier. A lot of people say that. We wouldn't call it an outlier. Good guesses right there. Think of the term we talked about earlier. We called it X something. What do we call the term when you go outside the X bounds of the model? Going outside the X bounds of the model is known as what? When you go outside the X bounds of the model, it's called a what? If you leave the X bounds of your model. No worries. This is why I throw these things in right here for us to review the new words. It's called what? What is it called when you leave the X bounds of the model? Extrapolation. So that would be if someone used this model to predict, because you can use the math of this model to predict like a 100 terabyte hard drive. But you see how this is extrapolating? If you leave this boundary right here, more specifically this boundary, over here is an extrapolation of your model. It's not really an outlier, but it's an extrapolation. So now we get to the easier parts. It just wants the slope of the model. B1 is the slope. Important to kind of know that notation. So to get the slope of the model, we just go in and know where it's in the output. It's at 2 spots in the output, so I suggest knowing both. The 2 spots it's going to be at are right here because it's B0 plus B1x. So this is the B1 right here. Also, it's down here at the very bottom where it says estimate of the slope. And here it is. You can't see it. Darn it. It's just right off the screen. There it is right there. Really? Really? It's going to move the thing? Good. The estimate of the slope, still can't see it, just barely. The estimate of the slope is the last thing on the screen right there. Oops, there we go. Mine doesn't show that. How did you get the linear fit? To get the linear fit of the model, go to the red arrow and go to fit line. Go to the red arrow and go to fit line. So the red arrow at the top of the screen, go to fit line. Does everyone have that now? How are people doing with the line being fit? Go to the red arrow and go to fit line. And then we get the intercept, negative 298. Nice job, Angel, right there. And then the slope, 142. Thank you for asking this at every point. Just be like, I don't have this. I don't see this. And then know that the values for the linear fit, if you take a look at the screen right here, you can see the intercept, 298, negative 298 rather. And that would be an extrapolation also because there's not a 0 terabyte hard drive. It's just hard drives can't be that small. And then 142 is the, for each additional terabyte, the increase we would expect between hard drives in price of hard drive. It's a little bit odd of a model because the model's predicting like negative for like a 1 terabyte hard drive. Weird model. And so there's the slope right here, 142, and there's the intercept, negative 298, and the estimates are down here. So know that that's the intercept, know that that's the slope, and the X variable is capacity in hard drive. Okay, so we've got the data. Let's take this information here, round to 2 decimals. Make sure to delete a space if you put one in. And there we go. Check answer. You better tell me I'm right. Put in jump. What does the slope mean in context? For each additional terabyte, we would expect the price of a hard drive to increase by about 142.36 on average. So what can I do? Notice what I did right here. When I say for each additional terabyte, we expect the price of a hard drive to increase by 142 point such and such on average. What am I doing right now? So I want you to try to do that. I want you to try to say that out. For each additional 1 unit increase in X, we expect Y to increase by B1. So that's the slope, right? But notice I'm not looking at the answers. I'm not looking at them now. I'm not looking at the answers. I'm just saying for each additional 1 terabyte increase in hard drive capacity, we expect the price to increase by 142 on average. I can do it without looking at the answers. That means I'm ready for the test. So try writing it down or doing it yourself. And then that means when you look at the answers, it indicates that, nope, that's no hard drive capacity is the intercept. It indicates the additional price in dollars for each additional terabyte capacity. That is going to be it right there. And that's what we said. For each 1 unit increase, or for each 1 additional terabyte, we expect the price of a hard drive to increase by this on average. Find the intercept. The intercept is going to be the other value. For each 1 unit increase in gigabytes, we expect price to increase by 1. Exactly. Great job, Evan, right there. The intercept is this negative value, which is not going to have a meaningful interpretation. Round it to 2. It's the B0 is the first number. And so the intercept right here, we got to throw some points, Evan. Keep it up. Keep those points up. So it indicates the capacity of a hard drive that does not cost anything. No, it's going to indicate the price. It indicates the no, that's the slope. Indicates the capacity for a hard drive that does not cost anything. It indicates the price, good, for a hard drive with no capacity. It is meaningless and should not be interpreted. Boom, good answer right there. That would be what we would want on the test. That's a perfect answer because a hard drive can't have 0 capacity because this is when X is equal to 0. Does that make sense? If you interpret this, like if you try to, you would say when a hard drive's capacity is equal to 0, we expect its price to be negative 298. So there's 2 reasons it's meaningless. It's meaningless because you can't have negative price, and a capacity of 0 means the hard drive doesn't exist. So think about what it means when you say it to say it's meaningless. It doesn't matter. So we would not interpret that. Write out the model. We're just going to take the values we currently have, 142.38, which is the slope. That's the B1. I just want to point out the reason we say B0, B1. It's really easy. Remember, B0 comes first, just the numbers you do the order. The predicted value, predicted price, price hat, equals B0, which is the intercept, plus B1, which is the slope, times the X variable of interest. So 142.38 was our value right here. And then the slope, negative 298.81. As long as I type them in the right way, we're good. And you can always check your work by going back over here and taking a look at your model and make sure you've typed in the same values as your model right there. And you should have it just so you can see them on the screen at the same time. Right there's our model, and right there's the model right there. Make sure you know that. Also, make sure you know in the output, here's the estimate of the slope. See, it says estimate of slope. There it is, or estimate of intercept. And that says estimate of slope coefficient, which is of the X variable. Next, we have to predict the price for a 20 terabyte hard drive. So what are we just going to do mathematically right here to predict the price of a 20 terabyte hard drive? Great work, Keith. So what would we do to predict the price of a 20 terabyte hard drive? Plug it in. That's all you do. Just plug it in. So all we're going to do right here is just take our model and mathematically go right here. Plug in 20. And there's that. And now we want to subtract. There we go. Now what's really cool, so that should be the right answer. Round to the nearest cent. Should be good. Okay. So oh my gosh. So what you can also do, put that in a hashtag. Put what in a hashtag? Which thing? What you can also do, which you can use Jump to solve this. If you go to Jump and go to your model, this is not required, but I'm just showing how to do it. Plug it in. If you go to Save Predicted, so I'm clicking the red arrow and going to Save Predicteds. So Save Predicteds, you don't have to do this, but you can check your work this way. It now saves the predictions. So you can go to capacity 20 right here, and it'll save the prediction right there. So that should also be an accepted answer, I would hope. 2,548 point, and then there it is right there. So you might want to just do the math. I don't know, because sometimes if it just counts you wrong or something, 0.80, it's that it's carrying out even more decimals up there. But you can save the predictions and actually use Jump to make predictions. So that's really nice. You have found that the 20 terabyte hard drive costs this. According to the model, does it seem like a good buy? So that would be less than you predicted. Does that make sense? So this is its what price. You have found that it costs this. So that is its what price. You found that it costs this. That's its what. Here's its predicted. It's a bad buy? I don't think it is. I don't think it is. Because this is its actual price. That's how much it's a good buy. Because less than the predicted, right? So according to the model, if you think about it, remember the line is the predicted. So let's do red line right here is the predicted. And then the dot is the actual. So the dot's going to be the actual. Does that make sense? It is less than we predicted. So it might be, you might be, people might be thinking like in actual, like, yeah, that's really expensive per terabyte, isn't it? Like, yeah, you might be like, maybe I'll just buy like 20 terabytes. I think you can get for way less than that now. This, my Pearson needs to be like, maybe we shouldn't write questions about computer storage because it changes so rapidly. 7 more terabytes and you get, well, no, this is the price we saw for it. So we saw right here in 19. I know, I'm so confused, Devin. The price we predicted it to be 2,548. We see it for 2,530. And for some reason, we need 20 terabytes. So it is less than predicted. So the point is below the line of prediction. So with that, it would have a negative residual. Yes, because the actual price is less than the predicted. So it's a good bet right there. And then try to do these drawings right here like I have, where I'm showing it. The actual for me is only $7 more than the predicted. Oh, so yours might be different. Oh yeah, and they are around $500 to $600 now. So yeah, this is way out. They might have made this like 4 or 5 years ago, and the question is way out of date. How much more or less would you pay compared to what the model predicts? Oh, so it wants the residual now. So you are paying less than the model predicts. So they're not asking for the negative. They're just asking for the difference between these numbers. So they want you to find the residual, which is just the difference between the actual and the predicted right here. So technically, we're just not going to throw the negative. Actual minus predicted. And it is going to be a negative, but we're just going to ignore them when we enter in. I could tell where this question was going. This is a really great question. This question is super long and covers like pretty much all the topics so far what I've been seeing. So we can just subtract 2530, and we know it's less than 1879. Oh, were you finding that out? Or was that your residual? Check answer should be good. Does the model over or underestimate the price? So what does my model do? Looking at it visually, does my model over or underestimate the price? Look at it visually. I drew it out. That's why drawings are a huge help. Does my model over or underestimate the price? So you can see the actual point and you can see the model. Does the model overestimate it or underestimate it? So the model itself is whatting the price. Think about the model. In terms of the model is overestimating it because the model is over the point. You see that right there? Good job right there, Evan. The model is overestimating it. Like the model is giving a prediction over the price. So the model is over it. So drawing this out right here is a huge help to draw where the actual point is. Keyword model. Exactly. Does the model overestimate? Yes. The model, it overestimates the price. That means the model is saying it'll be cost more than it is. Oh my gosh. This is the longest question I've seen in a long time. No wonder Angel, we got through Angel 1,000 points. Really good pick right here. I bet a lot of people are wondering about this problem. I was like, when does it end? We're on part I. It goes to part Z maybe. Good work there, Evan. The correlation is very high. Does this mean the model is accurate? Okay. When you look at the scatter plot of this model, it's a little bit weird. Let me look at the residual plot. Plot residuals. You have to go here to plot residuals. Plot residuals. Where is it at? Plot residuals. Ooh, look at this. I knew the nonlinear existed. This is why we look at residual plots. This is literally why we look at residual plots. Look at the curve of that model. I mean, the model does really well, but I should show this to another one of the students who's talking about an R-squared being so high. There is a big bend in this model. I don't know if they're going to talk about that down here, but please tell me that's not the answer. Please tell me that's not the answer. I love this question until if that's the answer down there. Okay. The model might be accurate because might not be accurate because there's an extreme outlier. The model might not be accurate because there's less than 20 data points. The model might not be accurate because there's more than 5 data points. The model is accurate because it has a very high correlation. No. No, you can't say that. Okay, this one, if they say, I will get very mad if they say that one's right. That can't be right. It's only these right here. So I think they're going for this right here. They're going for that point right there. No, but that's not really an outlier. I think they're going for limited data. Can I do looking at the outlier relation? If they say that's an outlier, they're gonna make me very mad. I'll bring this into like another program and go super diagnostics on it. Think what else I can do diagnostically on it to see. Save studentized residuals. Cool. What? Okay, I did it. I better have saved my studentized residuals. Oh, it didn't? Oh, I think it's this point right here. Delete row. Okay. Let me try one last time. Save studentized residuals. Stop it. I know the data table changed. Okay. 2 seconds. 2 seconds. We're going to look at one last diagnostic because I'm not getting this one wrong. We are capacity price right here. Fit line. Save studentized residuals. It's a bit of an outlier. Works the same way. What's your question? The outlier one, yeah. So that they're saying that that's a bit of an outlier. Like it's so far out from the rest of the data. Yeah, I mean, in the univariate sense, it's an outlier. So yeah, it's pulling the data towards it. That was, in truth, there's multiple issues with this data. Like the big issue to me is the nonlinear relationship that you see. There's this pull through the data right there. You can see it. So determine statements. Yeah, let's do one next. Angel, really great question right there. That last one, you can narrow it down to some answers. Like more data is obviously better. So the 5 data points was like ridiculous. And then there was the last one. The model is accurate because it's high correlation. No, high correlation could just be due to outliers. So we narrowed it down to 2. It had to be between those. And I've never heard them. I should realize I've never heard anything less than 20 data points. You can't make models. Well, welcome to veterinary medicine, where you often have small sample sizes. So we were working with 10 birds for the research that Chelsea's doing. So yeah, you're often not dealing with large sample sizes. So if you can't make models off of small sample sizes, then you're kind of stuck in a lot of research. So really good stuff right there. Really, really great question. And now we have question 17 point. Is that on the homework or the quiz, Blake? Homework or the quiz, Evan, sorry. Can we go over? I think it's because your real themes are green. Choose the linear model. Homework, okay. And how does it start? And then we'll do, I think I have time for one more. I got a meeting at 11. Is it the true false? Is it this one? Is it the true false? I think I remember you saying something about true false. Determine the following statement true or not. The statement below is true or false. Determine the following statement true or false. No? Okay. It's not this one, is it? Oh wait, it's the first one. Choose. Here we go. So this is homework question 1. Let's do it. We got time for 2 more. Let's knock these out. These will be easier. Stat Tool 1, Chapter 7, homework Q1. And that was the last one was Q5. And true false. Okay. Choose the linear model. Okay. Choose the linear model that passes through the most data points on the scatter plot. Wait, what? All of the data points either touch the line or fall below the line. That's false. The line usually touches none of the data points, and it minimizes the sums of squared errors. That is true. The linear model line usually passes through exactly half of the data points. No. So it's saying you choose the model that passes through the most points. No. The model does minimize the sums of squared errors. That's how it does it. It's called the line of best fit for that reason. So when we fit our line to the data, it sometimes they're just worded weirdly. The line minimizes the error. It doesn't usually touch many points. Even this model we had that did really well just a moment ago, it is minimizing the sums of squared errors. And if you were to zoom in on this, like if you go in here and zoom in, we'll use the little magnifying glass, zoom in right here, you can see it's actually not touching. And actually, as we talked about, it had a bit of a weird relationship where there was non-linearity. So you might think your model looks really good till you start zooming in. You say like, oh, look at that. There's like a non-linear, like especially due to that outlier, the line is not doing that well. What about part 3? Oh, we'll get to it. Let's do it. So you choose the line that minimizes the error, i.e. reduces the residuals, and we look at the sums of the squared residuals to think about how bad it does. The residuals are the observed y values minus the predicted of the model that is as true can get. I'm not even reading the false stuff because we just did that a moment ago and we said residuals are the actual minus the predicted. So we were solving residuals a half second ago right over here where we found, and that's the yellow right there is the residual, is the actual minus the predicted. So that is as true of a statement can be. Residual equals actual minus predicted, and I absolutely love it. No, they said observed. I like to call the observed the actual. Like how much did that hard drive actually cost? And so that would be what you observe it cost. Least squares means the squares of the largest residuals is as small as possible as it could be. It sounds somewhat accurate. It's just someone wrote a weird question, it sounds like. Least squares. So that's when we talk about the least squares model. Least squares means that the square of the largest... Oh, of the largest? No, it's not of the largest. No. False. Least squares means that the product... No, it's sum. There it is. It's sum of squares. And they get to that up here, right here, minimizes the sums of the squared error. And I think I went into some detail during class on this, talking about the sum of the squared error. So yes, that is going to be, it's the sum of the squared error. It's a pretty good question. It's a very theory question. What you're doing mathematically for this, and I think we did a drawing about it. There's root mean squared error. So here we are with this. Oh, we did. Yeah. Well, no, I didn't square the residuals. So can I? It's going to want me to save these. Sure, save. Doc 9. We got time for one more. Least squares means small squares. Exactly. It's being weird. Stop being weird, computer. I don't need to sign to Google Drive. Okay. So what you would do if you had residuals like this is you would go right here, and the sum of the squared residuals is if you square the residuals and you take the sum of them. I think we talked about that a little bit in class. Like I did. Does anyone remember me doing these drawings right here? Where we talk about the sum of the squared residuals and checking in. Hey, Noah, good to see you here. The sum of the squared residuals is what we're trying to reduce, and the line often doesn't go through many of the points. So the sum of the squared residuals. What was we got time for 5 more minutes. Got to hop to a meeting after this. But what was the last question right here? Nope, that is something I need to rewatch. I guess, cool. Yeah, practice. What is the last one we want to do right here? We're doing one more. What is the last question? Throwing 1,000 points for a random Noah appearing. What is the last question we got? I thought there was one more. To the right are the residuals for regression of capacity. For hard drives, which drive capacity contributes the most to that? Oh, that is minimized. Oh, wait. To the right? Is it on the homework? No, a lot about least squares residuals. To the right? It's on the homework? Okay, cool. You can tell me the homework number if you want, because the homework stays the same. So if you tell me the homework number... Oh, here we go. We found it. Number 6. Okay, let me mark this and let's knock it out. Okay. Let's go here. 56, Vector 3, Stat 201, Chapter 7, Homework, Q6. Hard drives again. Hard drives. Okay. Let's check it out. To the right are the residuals. So this is how much we miss by. Of the price on capacity for our data on hard drives. Which drive capacity contributes the most to the sums, to the sum that is minimized by the least square criteria? So it's just asking which has the biggest residual. It's this one. It's the 3.0. So which drive contributes the most? The 3.0 terabyte hard drive, because you're going to square them and sum them. So the one that contributes the most to the sums of the squared errors is just the largest one. And negative residual means that, and we could take a look right here at our drawing, it means that the actual price is lower than predicted. So it means that the cost is less than we might expect from the model. And here's the visual for it. So this is where the actual price, the price right there, the dot, that's the actual or the observed, is lower than the predicted. So the actual the actual price, right there, the actual price is lower than predicted, and it's wait, what? A negative residual means that the drive costs less than what might be expected from this model, and it's wait, and it's oh, is that? Oh, and its capacity, like it's saying from the model predicting it from its capacity. Okay, it's saying the X variable right there. I was like, how does that sentence end? Yeah, so it's saying that's such a weirdly worded sentence. A negative residual means that the drive costs less, because the Y is the cost, than what we might be expected from this model and its capacity. So it's saying the X variable when we use the X to predict it. Like predicting using the variable capacity, we would see a lower cost than we would expect. And here's what a negative residual looks like visually. And the X variable down here is capacity. So capacity is down there and price is over here. So when it says the model is using capacity to make predictions right there. That's just so weird. A residual of negative 19.27 indicates that that costs this many dollars, that many terabytes. No, it costs that many dollars less than expected. Pretty good stuff on negative residuals. They just got a little weird with that last bit right there. I wish they said the X variable or something. So I was like, how is that sentence ending? This model and its capacity. Yeah, it kind of makes sense. But it's saying the capacity is the X variable predict cost. So a residual of this indicates that it costs that much less. You're welcome. And if you look over here, really great questions today, because this coincides with what we were doing over here, where we calculated the residual, meaning that this drive right here with a residual of negative 18, about negative 18.79, it costs $18.79 less than predicted. Oh, we're doing that today in class. Remember, we're doing that today in class. So tell everyone, hashtag show up. I got to send those messages. And speaking of, I'm going to hop over to that meeting. Until then, bye for now, everyone. Bye. Big points in class.